How's it going, guys? I'm Liam. I'm here with Robogals and Potato, and today I'm going to be teaching you a bit about how we run our workshops at Robogals.
In our workshops, to start things off, we have a presentation. The presentation is broken up into two main parts that we usually split between two different people. The first part being the slideshow, and the second part being the coding. Now with the slideshows, we have two different slideshows. We have one for younger kids, so primary school age, and one for high school kids. Both of these workshops start off the same though. To start off these workshops, we introduce ourselves. So me, for example, I would say, "Hi, I'm Liam, and I'm doing second year electrical engineering." I'd then hand it around the room to the other volunteers to then introduce themselves. After introducing ourselves, we then introduce what Robogals is. So the general gist of what you need to say is that Robogals is a non-for-profit organisation which is run by uni students that go out to schools and teach robotics workshops to inspire kids to possibly do a career in STEM when they grow up. On the next slide, we ask the kids what they think engineering is. With this, it's important that no matter what the kid says, that we give them some sort of positive feedback. Even if they don't get it technically correct, we can change their answer with our own words to make it correct in a sense. After this, we then explain that the general principles of engineering come down to creating something new or improving something old. We then ask the kids to point out what is improved between the old plane and the new plane. Anything from aerodynamics to the speed to safety, you get the idea. Now this is the point where the older workshops differ from the younger workshops. In the older workshops, as you can see here, it goes through and we explain each of the different types of engineering. For example, mechanical, we talk about that it's anything to do with moving parts. Chemical, being chemical structures and materials, food processing. Makeup is a very good example to talk to the kids about. Civil engineering, we explain that it's sort of the opposite of mechanical in the sense that everything is made to stay where it is. Electrical and electronic, we talk about the high voltage and low voltage. And then finally, we also talk about software engineering, programming, apps, and all that stuff. So the way that younger workshops differ from the older workshops is that instead of having that last section, we have this section instead. The way that this section works is that we start off talking about the different flavors of engineering, similar to in the older presentation, but with less depth. Then on this page, we talk about how engineers need to work together as teams in order to build a product. We ask the kids who they reckon designed the roads, who designed the engine, the remote, the fuel, and the GPS system. Now to finish off both the workshops, they have this section at the end here. This section at the end is where we ask the kids why they think we need engineers. The general sort of answer we want to give them is that we need people to solve the problems that arrive in society in order to improve our lifestyles, and also, I guess, to build cool things so that we can have more fun and stuff. Before you can start coding though, you need to first get the program into the right options. So first of all, you got to click to add a new project, and then click that ball to get rid of it. Now, in order to connect your robot, you must go down to this one here, and currently there's nothing showing, but you click refresh, and then if there are any bots, you'll be able to see the different names of the robots and connect to it by clicking the Bluetooth symbol. Currently, I don't have any robots around me that are turned on, but that is how you do it, if there were. The first piece of code that we teach them is how to use the move steering block. The move steering block, basically you drag up next to the play button, and you can change these different parameters. The different parameters are, you can change this one to decide the setting. So we say on for seconds because it makes the best sense for the kids. On for degrees and on for rotations is about the degrees or the rotations of a wheel. So it's sometimes a little bit hard for the kids to get their head around. We then ask them what they reckon if we do make it go that way or make it go that way, and basically this is the turning parameter. The next one is the power parameter, so we ask them what happens if it goes up to full blast. What happens at 0? It doesn't move at all, and for negative numbers it goes backwards. Then this one here is the length of time we want it to go for. We usually get them to go for smaller amounts of time, say 2-3 seconds at the maximum. Otherwise, you just end up with something way too big. ends up happening for way too long. We then ask the kids to go out and make a shape. So in order to make a shape, they have to bring multiple blocks up and get it to move around in the form of a shape. In order to make the shape, the kids end up having to follow a pattern. So here, I'll just correct. So the pattern being having to go forward and then turning. Obviously, they're going to have to adjust the setting of the turn until they get a nice angle, depending on their shape. And then basically this gets repeated a bunch of times, depending on how many sides their shape is. So with a square, it's going to be 8 blocks, etc., etc. If they need to see more of their screen, they can pan with this setting, or they can also zoom out. The next piece of coding that we teach them is how to use the loop block. So that's in the orange tab, it's the third one along, and basically whatever we put inside the loop block will get repeated. So we talk about the patterns with them that they noticed, and then we end up showing them that they can recreate their old code with only 2 blocks and a loop block. In order to make it well though, you've got to go down to count, which allows us to put in a specific number of times. So if it's a square, we'll go for 4 times. It's going to go forward, turn, repeat, forward, turn, repeat, 4 times in total.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is basically teach the robot to be able to go around the room and not bump into anything. These guys at the front here are the ultrasonic sensor, so ultrasonic sound waves, blah blah, and basically determining distance.
So in order to program the seeing eyes, we have to use this thing here, which is called the switch block. The switch block drags up next to it, and it allows our robot to make decisions. The tick being when a condition is true, the cross when a condition is false. So first of all, you select the right condition or the right sensor. So this one here is the ultrasonic sensor, and we're comparing the distance in centimeters. So we ask them if they remember what the less than symbol for maths means, less than obviously, and we want to change this to 20 centimeters because that seems to be the best sort of distance away that works. So what this is checking for is it's checking, is there something less than 20 centimeters away from me? Yes or no. So the kids will know that if there's something in front of it and it doesn't want to hit it, they want to either turn away, or they can stop, or they can go backwards as well. But the turning is usually the best option. And then the rest of the time, they want to go straight. Now, for the going straight though, we want to make sure that it's just on, so that as soon as it sees something in front of it, it's going to turn. Otherwise, if we had this for say 10 seconds, if there's something 25 centimeters away from it, it's going to move forward for 10 seconds, and in those 10 seconds it's going to have collided with the wall. That's a bit of an extreme example, but sort of makes sense. Then the final piece to finish this code is you want to put a loop around all of it so that it continues to do that over and over and over again.
Okay, so next, after using these ones, we then go and teach them to basically use a different sensor. This one underneath here is the color sensor. So basically it shines light, the little receiver underneath it receives light that's reflected back to it.
Now to program the sumo robot, you need to use the switch block again. This time, however, we are using the color sensor and we are comparing the reflected light intensity. This symbol here is to do with the sensitivity. So depending on the mat will depend on what setting you should do for. The current mats we use work best for somewhere between a 20 or a 30 setting. Now this here again is seeing less light, so when it sees less light, being black, it's going to do whatever in the tick cross, and when it doesn't see less light, it's going to do whatever's in the cross box. So it ends up being the same as before, that we wanted to turn away from black lines and we want it to keep going straight when it's on the Y. This one here, it's very, very important that we leave it for on though. Otherwise, it will definitely just drive straight out of the ring unless you get lucky. And once again, you want to put a loop lock around all of it.
The final part of the coding section is the robot battle. Using the code from the previous section, the robots are able to stay inside of the sumo mats. So, by attaching the framework to the robot and attaching the skewer and balloon to it, the robots are now ready to battle. How exactly you run the battle is up to you, and also, I guess, the amount of time you have left. It will usually take about 20 minutes for a regular tournament, to give you a good estimate. The rules, however, are that a robot loses if its balloon is popped, it is pushed so both of its wheels are out of the ring, it is knocked over, or it drives itself out of the ring too many times. I usually go with 3 strikes and it's out. Also, make sure the robots are facing away from each other before the battle starts. And if they have interlocked and the fight has gone into stalemate, feel free to pick them up and point them back to travelling around the ring. Like I said though, the battle can be run however you'd like, and the tournaments can be run however you like. Some things that I find sort of build suspense and increase the excitement of the battle though are things like counting down from 3 before the battle starts, getting the kids to do a drum roll before you announce robot names, and things like that are all really good. The final part of the workshop is the wrap-up. In the wrap-up, we ask the kids if they had fun, if they have any questions, and then we thank the school / library / wherever we are for having us. And that's it. That's the workshop done. Something that's really important to remember whilst doing the workshops, though, is that the kids' enjoyment is the most important thing. You may not have said everything that could have been said in the presentation, or you may not be able to do every single section of the workshop. But if the kids are having fun, it doesn't really matter. Our goal isn't to teach the kids robotics, but to inspire them to want to learn more.
Okay guys, well that's the workshop done for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I know me and Potato did. If you liked our stuff, chuck us a like on Facebook, chuck the video a like. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments or send us a message on Facebook. I've got all our details in the description below. Yeah, just go ahead and rock up to some workshops. Hope to see you around.